the responsibility of officiating this one. A real sense of anticipation. The crowds were heading through the turnstiles very, very early, which is not common in Melbourne. There's Mickey Peterson to the left of screen, the coach of South Melbourne. What a great start to his senior NSL coaching career. We're almost ready for a start here at the Bob Jane, round 13, the last round of the season before we tick over into the year 2001. And whilst many games, well, they need to manufacture excitement of their own, this one reeks of big game, and it has done since well before Jeremy Blaney dropped the checkered flag. We're away to action in a game that counts for so much for both of these teams. Big crowd in there, still coming through the turnstiles. Sydney Olympic to the left of screen, probably facing a slight breeze coming off the Albert Park Lake. Belts one. Olympic last beat South Melbourne in Melbourne back in the 91-92 season. It's been a long time between drinks. This would be a huge result if they could win here in this sort of atmosphere. Throw into South Melbourne. Okay, Coveny still on screen. Tiana's rifles one in. Carle. Stop and give was good. Coughed up by Zorbas though. Durakovic, big game for him. His 150th as a South Melbourne player. Returning to the club. Ambitious ball is well weighted by Goutzioulis. Kisnorbo, the youngster. Gee, what a great start to his NSL career. He's been an ever-present in the South Melbourne team. So far this season, they had big raps on him. And a contingent of Olympic supporters here as well to spice it up. They're still coming through the turnstiles. It's going to be a blockbuster crowd. Carle twists out of trouble. Cardozo, the Branko Kalina, saying during the week he felt that he's probably playing a kilo or two over his best playing weight. Well won by South Melbourne, just a little too long for Vlahos. So a stalemate opening 2.5 minutes. Craig Foster, it is beautiful weather for football though, isn't it? Throw in to Olympic. Clarkson. Craig Foster's competitive spirit, no doubt. He's probably in the changing rooms trying to get stripped for the game. As Paul Waite joins us in commentary, it's the sort of day you want to be out there, isn't it, Wadey?
Oh, you live for days like this, don't you? There's a cool breeze blowing, it's sunshine, there's a huge crowd, it's a first versus third contest. I'll tell you what, you live for days like this in this country.
Been a couple of years since we've seen some huge games at South Melbourne. They had an awful season last year. They're back in town. Clarkson rifles one in, skewed off the boot. Cleared. Carle glances the header on. Amicis back. Loops one to Boutsianis. Panopoulos, Clarkson again. Measured in the build-up South Melbourne. Top of the box. Durakovic waits it. Goalkeeper had to come. Clean take in the end. There was a real weighty sense of anticipation coming into the ground today that we haven't seen down at the Bob Jane Stadium for quite some time.
It's a joy when you're a footballer or a commentator to be going to a ground, and as you're turning up to the ground, so are all the fans.
Big pick off by South Melbourne. Trimboli, good ball, flags up, won't count. Well, Bolton did it anyway.
And to be making your way through the crowd and excusing yourself every 5 minutes as you push your way through the car park and slowly but surely make your way to the ground and apologise that you haven't got your pass with you, your Soccer Australia pass. I guess it happens week in, week out in Europe, but not too often in Australia, and we're glad of the fact that it's happening today.
By the time the turnstiles are cleared, this little boutique stadium on the picturesque Albert Park Lake is going to be quite bloated, I suspect. Carle. Panopoulos all into 50-50 territory. Well won. Owens trundles toward the top of the area. That's a great ball. Well, just a sniff at both ends in the last 60 seconds as both teams find their feet. I mean, Craig Foster pointed out before the game, I mean, these are two quality football outfits. So we can expect this to gather momentum as the game goes on. Cardozo with the corner. Deliberates. Amicis, Rainmaker to half field. Nearly swept goalward in the end by Kalogeracos, getting his first start as a South Melbourne player. He's played cameo footy this year. Kalogeracos, you can see on Olivia's screen, since coming from Perth, but he gets his start today in place of the injured Jelko Sousa. He misses this one, Sousa, but the good news is it's only 1 week with that knee injury. He's been a bit special this year, turned away by Sinozic. Clarkson launches one, just a little too deep. Vlahos gets the little legs working. The push pass is gorgeous. Great stuff by South Melbourne, intuitive. Carle turns it into no man's land. And Kisnorbo just belts it out of play as we go down to Craig Foster. It is a beaut afternoon for a game of footy, mate.
Yeah, it is. There's been a lot of games and a lot of speculation recently about some of the extremely hot temperatures that the games have been played in. And this is a welcome respite for the players. Everyone will be keyed up for this game, as we said before the game. But as you say, beautiful pitch, great conditions, big crowd, a lot of feeling between the clubs. It's just a great day. It's interesting you mentioned about Kalogeracos before. He's a player in point coming into what is a winning side, and I spoke to Goran Lojanovski before the game. Very talented player, would walk into any other side in the league. He's coming back from injury, and he says to me, well, I'm almost ready to go, but it's very, very hard to break into this side, and that's true. So someone like Kalogeracos has got his chance. It'll be interesting to see what he does with it today.
Well, there's a tangible sense of the glory years of 98 and 99 starting to return to South Melbourne. They have strolled through some of their matches. No white flags this year, and as Craig Foster just pointed out, gee, their list goes very, very deep. No Sousa today, but even on the bench, John Anastasiadis, Goran Lojanovski and Steve Iosifidis. Boutsianis, you'll have to push it through Coveny.
It's interesting with this sun at the other end. I was just looking at Michael Petkovic. He's going to have a tough time for at least another 10 minutes looking into that sun. He's got a cap on. He's got his hand up to his face. Clint Bolton hasn't got the same problem down this end, but Boutsianis is going to give him one right this minute.
Corner comes in. Gee, great stuff by the goalkeeper again. He's asserted himself early in the game. That builds confidence. Olympic with a wretched record in Melbourne against South Melbourne. They've never won here at the Bob Jane Stadium. This is their 7th start. We saw in the pre-game, though, that difference between this year and last. You saw on those highlights with Baillie and Craig Fausto, the terraces were sparsely populated at best. But when South Melbourne is a winning team, they command a fairly sizable audience.
I'm trying to write down the names of the players in the areas that they're playing, and I'm just trying to work out where Boutsianis is playing, Craig Fausto. We expected him to play wide on the left-hand side, but I don't know whether Mickey Peterson has given him a free role to reign across the middle of the park wherever he likes. It seems like Andy Vlahos has now taken up that position on the left.
Yeah, you're right. It's there was a switch there. He started Kalogeracos up front and Vlahos out wide on the left, and I think you're right. He has given Boutsianis much of a free role, and already he's been involved out wide 2 or 3 times. Got 2 crosses in and got down wide, and that's obviously what Mickey Peterson will be looking for him to break forward from midfield, which he can do very well.
It is the last round before the turn of the year. There's some big matches on all around the nation. Got some progress scores at Knights Stadium. It's Melbourne Knights 1, Perth 1. That's after an hour. Toto da Costa getting the goal, and Ljubo Milicevic for Perth. Brisbane 1-0 up over Adelaide City, and 1P Foster getting the go-ahead there from a penalty. And in the other match, the Kings are a goal to 0 up. Dennis Ibrahim, the goal scorer against Canberra. But the focus is all on this one. It has all the ingredients. Top of the table at stake. The rich tradition and heritage of both clubs, which are measured now in generations. And that fierce intercity rivalry between Sydney and Melbourne. Boutsianis was cornered. Released back for Amicis. Juric lobs one into the grandstand. Nearly 12 in, no score. At the moment, Olympic defensively anyway, Paul Wade. Apart from that brief moment there, they've looked pretty good.
Well, they've got plenty of numbers behind the ball, Greg, you know. I mean, I don't think they're...
Coveny! Well, within a heartbeat of suggesting that Olympic were looking pretty cool in a crisis, the Kiwi, Vaughan Coveny, measures one to give South Melbourne the lead. A grand occasion and a pretty good goal, and South Melbourne go in front.
Well, I was going to say that they had plenty of numbers behind the ball, but I'm not quite sure whether they were actually organised. It seems like everybody was being picked up there. They all had a man each. Maybe it was Lindsay Wilson who just lost Vaughan Coveny for a fraction of a second, but the big fella, that's all he needs to rifle one. We've seen him score a number of goals with that left peg.
South Melbourne one ahead. Olympic have got to reply, answer it and show they won't be intimidated. Cardozo did awfully well. Bounced off the back of Clarkson's head. Zorbas. Sinozic goes straight up route one. Clarkson wins it in heavy traffic. Boutsianis spears the header. Trimboli, Boutsianis again. He's too... The ball over the top was far too long for the chasing Kalogeracos on screen, but 2 elements to South Melbourne I've noted this year, Paul. One, very simply, they don't sit on results. They keep pummeling the opposition. And one thing that is noticeable between this year and last is they don't raise the white flag. They'll keep coming to the end of the match. I saw it against Parramatta. We saw that electrifying finish against Wollongong when there was 3 goals in injury time. But South Melbourne, they are back to their best. They're hungry again.
Yeah, they're back to their best. A lot of experienced players are back to their best, and I note Paul Trimboli on that point. And you're quite right. They will play out the 90 minutes, and so they should with a big crowd like this behind them.
Juric tried to muscle it through. Double team was effective. Coveny.
You talk about guys about South Melbourne going all the way and playing well again. A lot of that I think you can put down to the team spirit. Paul Wade knows, of course, being one of the club's favourite sons, something South Melbourne have always had. Their teams have always had fantastic team spirit. They've always been a tight bunch of guys, always good friends. And I don't think it's coincidental that Mickey Peterson is at the helm of this team that's now starting to look so good. He's a player, he's a former player, and of course a coach that all the players love. Many of them, Trimboli of course, have played with him many years, and you can be sure that they'll be doing everything for him.
Well, Paul Trimboli, well, he's like Farlow, isn't he? In a class of his own. It is a very good team, and you've really got to, if you're a Sydney Olympic supporter, this is how you measure your football team at this point of the year, whether they can come here to South Melbourne on fire and get a result. Just sense some hesitation about Olympic. At the moment, they're a goal down, quarter of an hour played. The round 13 blockbuster here at Bob Janes Stadium with a skip and a hop. Kohler. There's Wyatt. Carle knocks it round the corner. Kalogeracos did well to get to the footy and get the free kick right at half field.
You know, when you're preparing for a big game like this, you visualise all week the players in the positions that they're playing, and at the moment South Melbourne are playing so many players in positions that you wouldn't expect them to, and I'm just wondering how that has affected each player in the Sydney Olympic side. They've been looking to see Andy Vlahos playing up front alongside Paul Trimboli. Now Boutsianis is in the middle of the park, you know. How do you mark him now? Who marks him? It's all changed, and at the moment they're struggling with that.
Durakovic spears it. A little stumble and a bumble. He goes out of play. It's got Baillie. I'll tell you what, I'm not sure whether I'm tactically adept at making this comment, but that afternoon sun on the horizon is looking right down the ground, right into the commentary area. It is very, very difficult to see. Now, it might be the appropriate time for Branko Clint to pump a few high ones in for Petkovic to grapple with, because he won't be seeing much of them, I can assure you, at this point.
Well, he's got about 3 minutes, I reckon.
Oh, boy, ill times. Petkovic belted away.
He's got 3 minutes to make that tactical point to his players, because at the moment that shadow is 3/4 of the way across the goal, and Michael Petkovic won't have to worry very shortly.
Amicis, eyes darting round, releases for Kisnorbo, hit and hope long, Juric. Well, there's the jet flyover, of course. It's a little late. That was supposed to be in the pre-game, apparently. Carle knocks it cheekily inside. Sinozic. Carle again. It's the perimeter of the penalty area. Blue shirts everywhere. The ball's coughed up. Heads up, though, by Owens. Pokes it inside. Carle loses it again. Well, I tell you what, he's getting nothing easy, Nick Carle. He's a danger. Amicis bombs one in. Baillie. This is the red alert button. Olympic scramble it clear. They go quickly. Dance steps. Well effective. Boutsianis. wants to take on the opponent. Does, launches one skyward. Coveny will reach it, he's got the legs. Cuts it back, and it will end up as a corner to South Melbourne. Electrifying stuff from South Melbourne when they come charging down like the cavalry, don't they? You feel the crowd rising. It's like watching the punters at the Melbourne Cup as they round the home turn. They all stand and rise.
You know, you were talking about South Melbourne players that are lifted. Paul Coveny's one of them. He was yes, he's in, no, he's not last season, but the man who's just about to take the corner now, Boutsianis, he struck a ball last week against the crossbar, and that one with the outside of the foot, perfect.
South Melbourne up by one, testing the goalkeeper, did well. Vlahos keeps it low, Trimboli finesses it off the line in the end. I believe by Peter Zorbas. Gonna hold it here, Sydney Olympic. They're being asked the question. Boutsianis goes shoulder to shoulder with Carle, who wins it well. Cardozo. Coast to coast, well read by Amicis.
That was an out for them last week, Sydney Olympic, when they really put it in gear in the second half against Wollongong. It was Lindsay Wilson who was tearing down that right-hand side. Well, it was the left-hand side last week, but every time he goes down there, there's Fausto Amicis waiting for him. It's something that Craig Foster likened us to in the pre-match.
Yeah, we always talk about the attacking qualities of South Melbourne, and so we should. They're absolutely fantastic. But, gee, you've got to like the look of their defence when you have a look at it. And when you talk about championship-winning teams, you know, you of course need very, very tight and stingy defences to be able to win a championship. But Mike Peterson must have thought someone was smiling on him when Mehmet Durakovic walked back into the country and back into his squad. He played many games with him at South Melbourne, of course, years before, but he's one of the greatest defenders ever produced in this country.
That's a great win by Vlahos. It's a ground no free kick. I think even more surprisingly is that Durakovic, who is getting on a bit in years, had an injury-plagued season at Eastern Pride last year, but he's held together well, the sticky tape and the bandages and what have you, and he hasn't missed a game this year, so that's a bonus as well. Kisnorbo for Amicis.
I know quite a few strikers, I can tell you blatantly over the years, who say that of the defenders they've had to play against in this country, the two premier among them would be Alex Tobin and Mehmet Durakovic, as far as being man markers, and of course they've done that many times for the Socceroos.
It's a huge wrap. Zorbas picks the pocket of Boutsianis. Sinozic inside. Goutzioulis, well, he knows his territory pretty well. Played all his early footy at South Melbourne, went to Olympic last year. Cardozo, faced with Kisnorbo. The kid wins out. Well done, young Patrick. Hasn't he got some steel about him, some aplomb about him for a kid? And that's all he is. This is his rookie year, Paul White.
Yeah, I don't know how many games, what, 12 games now? This is his 12th game, but yeah, he shows the experience of a 30-year-old. He knows how to shimmy. He's got a beautiful first touch. He's got a little bit of vision as well. When he puts a little bit of beef on, he'll be some player.
He runs, he purrs like a Tassie devil. He's a beauty. Thank you from Kalogeracos.
Just get the feeling though after the first few minutes when Sydney Olympic really looked shell-shocked and Boutsianis was getting a lot of space in the middle free. They just seem to be coming back and finding their game again now. They're putting some passes together. Lindsay Wilson's coming to the game a lot more. Greg Owens getting himself on the ball. And more importantly, both Cardozo and Nick Carle are getting some ball to their feet as well. And that's the type of player they are. They need to see the ball.
There's still some payback in the veins of the South Melbourne players. They were absolutely gutted by Olympic last year. 6-0 up at Belmore in round 17. They felt that one. Amicis! He aimed the crosshairs, but he's not a striker.
Sort of conjures up the memory at Olympic Park, I think it was, against Carlton. He rifled it right into the top right-hand corner that day. I'm disappointed with that.
Yeah, of course, on that night he closed his eyes and hoped for the best. key for Olympic here is to recover some lost ground. They can't come away with this one psychologically feeling inferior. What a role to start the season, Olympic, but South Melbourne now with the streak, 9 games without loss, the best of the season so far. Paving the way was Cardozo. Owens. They ran into a posse of blue shirts. Carle. And Jeremy Blaney calls it. Dave Clarkson. He looks like one of the imps at the bottom of the garden, does he? Wouldn't hurt you for quids, David Clarkson, by the look on his face. That angelic look. There's the shove and the shove again, and then Cardozo's legs. You get the free kick. Petkovic. Shot of it. Cardozo can do it from here if he wishes to. Instead, the responsibility fell to Paul Kohler. Saw the result.
Well, it's a shot across the bow, but I think South Melbourne have got to be aware of that sort of thing. There were so many blue shirts in there, not all of them picking up white shirts, and Kohler left on his own. Even when the ball was played, there wasn't anybody really willing to work hard and close him down. So it's a warning sign for South Melbourne that this Sydney Olympic side do have some armoury in there. They do have some firepower, as they showed last week against Wollongong.
Well, they have Pablo Cardozo back for a start. He plays his way into form. Smith Peterson looking worried, but they're strolling at the moment, South Melbourne. You just get the feeling that Olympic have got to worry and put some doubt in their minds. Trimboli, the master, and he draws the free kick. So the set piece at the scoreboard into the ground. Currently reading South Melbourne 1, Sydney Olympic 0. There it is again, Trimboli. In the end, just drops to the knees. Boutsianis. Oh, that's a tough one for the goalkeeper, who did well. Did he know much about it? The result was okay, though. Boutsianis is set pieces. There's a whole armoured division on his own, isn't it? Trimboli, brave in the air, difficult for Olympic. Again to clear, they've got the numbers, they force it forward, they try to wrestle it forward. The South Melbourne supporters calling for a penalty. Trimboli was dropping on his backside, rather Coveny behind play. Jeremy Blaney calling it. Trundling away goes Goutzioulis. He'd love to produce against his former club. Carle, he's got to run against a mass of them. Well, maybe now, Durakovic complaining to the referee, but maybe now, the last couple of advances forward. There's the chance at the other end, Wadey.
Yeah, he had his hand on his shoulder, Sinozic, and the crowd knew that as well, but the referee thought, well, maybe handbags at 10 paces, but this is where Branko Kalina, that's his trump card. He'd like to be playing Nicky Carle in the middle of the park. His beautiful gift of running at players and keeping possession, more importantly. At the moment, he's playing him up front because he's got no choice.
So South Melbourne hit back. I think Craig Foster, they have done Olympic just enough to put a bit of doubt in South Melbourne's mind. The urgency's back. Yeah, they've done quite well. The last 5 minutes, they're starting to string some passes together. What's happening is Greg Owens is getting forward, and he makes those runs so well into the box. And because they're playing 2-on-2 at the back with the young boy and Durakovic on Carle and Cardozo, Owens is making a third man coming forward, so they're looking dangerous. Free kick specialist Boutsianis. Well, Boutsianis' delivery on his free kicks and corners has been absolutely superb. There's very few players in the country who can curl the ball at pace the way he does. Guys like Coveny and Trimboli must, they're just reveling in it.
One thing I don't like about Olympic at the moment is defending so deep. We've seen some shots. Durakovic has had 2 shots. Amicis has had a shot from probably 30 yards. That's because they're so deep that when the defence comes forward, they're unmarked. They're able to have shots from that distance. And with that quality of player, I just think Sydney Olympic need to defend higher.
Zorbas. Clarkson squeezes it upfield. Kalogeracos was, well, it wasn't manslaughter, but pretty close to it. South Melbourne fans not happy. South ball anyway. Coveny, the flying sheep farmer, now a veteran, but can still burn up the turf. Scored the opener. Wasn't a bad goal either, swivelling the left footer to give South Melbourne that critical go-ahead goal. South Melbourne ranked first both in attack and defensively at this point of the season. It's a pretty good rap. Panopoulos ran the gauntlet and did well in the end. Oh, Kisnorbo kept his head. Gee, he's a good kid. Patrick Kisnorbo, he's come from nowhere. Clarkson. It's some acreage. Kalogeracos, well, he's making himself available. He's been busy. Olympic still no Marusic. Wouldn't they like him out there? Wilson. This is better. Carle places the header. What a great stop. Superb stuff from both sides. Olympic came thundering down the paddock. And that man there, Nicky Carle, well, he got there. It was inch perfect, the header, but the stop was better. Petkovic, you're a hero.
Put it exactly where strikers put it. Goalkeeper moving one way, make him go the other. 2 of the best goalkeepers in the country at the moment on show, and that's why.
The rubber band is starting to wind up. There's 2 teams. Got the Dukes up and they're starting to land a few blows. Vlahos launches one. Trimboli was, oh gee, that's going to hurt. Both players with eyes only for the football then, and they've collected, and I think certainly Trimboli's got that on the point of the knee.
Yeah, nasty clash, but again it was Greg Owens there who made the difference. Lindsay Wilson's came out of defence, came to Fausto Amicis, and it was 2-on-2 in the middle, and again Greg Owens has made the 3rd man, and actually as they went forward into the South Melbourne, it was 3-on-2. So it's really something that South Melbourne need to watch. It's clear that they can be caught on the break, and it was a fantastic cross by Greg Owens, measured right onto the head of Nicky Carle, was unlucky.
Paul Trimboli gingerly stepping up the skipper. You saw the slow motion of that. We've seen a lot less than that do a lot more damage, so Trimmers can count himself pretty lucky.
I think Trimmers is far more used to copping it than dishing it out, isn't he?
Well, for a guy of his stature physically, he's terribly resilient. He really has copped a hammering over the years. You think of guys like Sean Parton and Andrew Marth and 1 or 2 others who've really dished it out to him, but he's still played on. He's heading toward 400 games. He's a marvel. Juric inside. Ambitious stuff from downtown by Greg Owens.
Franco Cellino will be very pleased though. He's seen in the last 5 or 10 minutes Sydney Olympic have a couple of chances. They've had 3 shots. Okay, they're from distance. One off a free kick that was a fairly poor effort. That one from Greg Owens. They've had a fantastic chance. They've really got themselves back into this game.
At least they've given a reply, and that keeps the game well alive. Olympic, the threat of Olympic is that they've got so many players that can potentially score goals. 12 players this year already have scored for Sydney Olympic. That's far in excess of any other team. Coveny, arm wrestle. Sinozic. Coveny has to run the loop outside and will draw a free kick. Must to Sebastian Sinozic's protest. Coveny on the screen. think you'd call it. And no tossing of coins to decide who takes the free kick for South Melbourne. He's aced a couple today, missed maybe with one. Great shot at the free kick as we head toward half-time. Well, somebody stood in the way of that, and they'll be out with the ice pack on that tomorrow morning, I should think.
He didn't get that anywhere near the target. Completely miskicked it. Hit the bottom of the wall. Which will disappoint a marksman of his quality.
South Melbourne up by one in one of 4 games to complete the round today. Nothing on New Year's Eve, of course. Boutsianis. We've got a shove, nothing called. Olympic come up with the footy, and that's all that counts. Owens.
Now there's an interesting one. Greg Owens for the last 3 or 4 minutes has been playing up front with Nicky Carle, and it was Pablo Cardozo who was dropping back into midfield. So Branko Kalina's done a lot of work midweek. He's mixing it up a little bit. Usually Greg Owens sits in the midfield and, as Craig Foster quite rightly pointed out, makes the most beautiful runs. I wouldn't say he's as effective when he's got the ball at his feet, but actually getting into dangerous positions, he's been a huge asset to Branko.
Stepping over the tackle, Kalogeracos, showtime! Bolton did so well. He didn't get a clean hold on it as he hit the dust, but as the plumes of dirt rose around him, he kept his head and wrestled it to safety second time.
And he couldn't parry either, could he? There was Trimmer steaming in on him for the rebound.
There's suggestions of danger at both ends each time these two teams come forward. Clarkson stood his ground, all bobbed for South Melbourne. Panopoulos, Kalogeracos almost on the money for Boutsianis. Wilson wanted to steal. Vlahos turned it inboard. White shirts at plenty. Juric. Olympic showing some real heart. Carle, heads up play by Nicky Carle. Owens' release goes deep. And South Melbourne scrambling at the other end.
The timing of his run again just split the South Melbourne defence. I don't know whether it's just natural or he works on it with Branko Kalina, but he always gets there at the right time. It's just what happens after that maybe he could work on a little bit harder.
Carle with the corner. Olympic 3 each. Trimboli get on the carpet. Vlahos released too quickly. Kalogeracos getting better as the game goes on in his first start for South Melbourne. They like him down here. The left footer was quite where he wanted it. And it's an Olympic ball into the depths of this first half. South Melbourne by 1. Vaughan Coveny with the goal.
Craig, I'm just wondering on that right-hand side for Sydney Olympic. He seems to be giving Andy Vlahos a bit of a going over. Andy's finding it very difficult indeed. How would you sort of suggest now to Andy to combat Lindsay Wilson?
Yeah, I was just thinking that the pressure that came before the chance that Greg Owens just had, he got in a good position, but really the whole move came from pressure from Lindsay Wilson, put him on Vlahos. He didn't have much support, but he put so much pressure on him, he had really nowhere to go. They've broken fast, and that's really the strength of Sydney Olympic. Well, it's tough to say, really. You probably want Vlahos taking Lindsay Wilson as high as possible, so go and play really as a left winger. That'll open the space for Boutsianis to once again come out wide into the space left left behind there to a left midfield sort of role, because at the moment, again, Boutsianis is not finding the space as he was in the first 15 minutes. But great tactics by Sydney Olympic, great effort to come back into the game, and you rightly said before, Greg Owens has pushed forward, and they're not too sure what to do with him at the moment. He's able to play up as a striker or just simply come off them a little bit, play in the hole or make those wide runs, and really he's given South Melbourne a hell of a time.
Olympic certainly giving the travelling fans something. Carle, gee, ran a mile to try and win the footy. Wanted a free kick in the end. Boutsianis for Kalogeracos, the only man up for South Melbourne. He has to wait and wait. A trio come pounding in, but the ball turned over. And Amicis puts that one into the crowd.
You just get the feeling with South Melbourne that if you come to the Bob Jane, sit back, try and absorb the pressure and let South Melbourne play, they are going to pull you to pieces. They can do it to any team in this country. You let them attack and they'll really show you what they can do. They've got so much quality. But if you go at them, that's really, I think, the only strategy you can have here, and that's what Olympic have learned, and that's what they're doing now. What they've done is they've pushed so many men forward that they're making South Melbourne defend deep, and now all South Melbourne's got is Kalogeracos up front. They're really playing with one front runner.
Big weekend of footy in the NSL to clean up year 2000. Melbourne Knights 1, Perth Glory 1. That's a final score to Costa and Milicevic, the respective goal scorers. That's a big one. Brisbane 3-0 against Adelaide City. Progress score, so it ain't over yet. Paul Fausto with a penalty. Fernando Reck, 2 goals inside a minute. He's brilliant. And that is a progress score as well. Canberra Kings 2. So Kings break that run of outs. Dennis Ibrahim and Ivan Visilic, the goal scorers for the Kings. But this is the match that counts for the most. South Melbourne can reclaim top place at the end of the calendar year. Wollongong with a thumping 4-2 result against Eastern Pride last night. They are currently top of the ladder.
Sorry, Blakey, have a look, Paul Wade, where Paul Trimboli is playing now. The first 15 minutes he's playing in behind the strikers, where you know that he loves to play. He's one of the premier players we've ever had as far as playing in behind the strikers in the hole there. Very clever player. He's having to drop so deep, he's coming back behind halfway to pick up the ball. Well, that's a great compliment to the change in tactics and change in style of Sydney Olympic.
Boutsianis from downtown. Wow, Trimboli tries to glance it around Bolton. Bolton's been good. This one's skyward. Carle, barrel chest, brings the footy to ground. Running outside, Wilson. Well, the detour sign came up. Free kick, Sydney Olympic, and you can hear the response. Andy Vlahos not happy. South Melbourne faithful certainly not happy. Olympic will get a corner from this. Well, they are passionate and vociferous, the Blue and White Army. Petkovic, well, he's earned his first half money with that one special save from Nick Carle a little earlier on. Both goalkeepers have been great. Amicis twisting the header clear. Zorbas tries to run the gap. Carle might get another chance. Well, no, he won't with that. Cardozo, 82 goals in the NSL with the Sharks and with Olympic. He's an electrifying talent, Pablo Cardozo. Oh, that footy was so well won by Zorbas. He couldn't quite stay with the momentum of the footy, but Olympic swarmed downfield in clusters away by Durakovic. They are threatening Sydney Olympic. The work by Clarkson then just to keep Carle off the contest was great, and now he runs to receive from the goalkeeper. South Melbourne storm back at the other end. Into the last 60 seconds of regulation in this first half. Round 13 action. Ball through the gap was perfect by Boutsianis. And Vlahos will get the corner. Well, sometimes a game is won or lost in just a moment like this. On the cusp of half-time, if South Melbourne scored, it'd be a huge ask for Olympic. This is an important one. Vlahos launches one in. Bolton didn't reach it, but Owens did. There won't be too much time added on Clarkson. Rolls it outside. Great cross by Kalogeracos. Well, you don't want to bat your eyelids, Craig Foster, for more than a millisecond in this one. The chances are starting to really unravel at both ends, aren't they?
Yes, it's really living up to what we thought it would. Two fine attacking sides. Just felt at the start of the game, Sydney Olympic didn't start well first 15 minutes. They were camped in there on the edge of their 18-yard box, allowing South Melbourne far too much room. But, gee, the game's opened up so much now.
To safety by Sinozic. We're into stoppage time. Clarkson. Trimboli. Got the arm up. He hit unintentionally his opponent. It was Paul Kohler right in the mush. And felt it too. We'll have a fat look tomorrow. Zorbas swung it across the body. Didn't hit the mark. South Melbourne turn it over. Early goal from Vaughan Coveny. Giving South Melbourne 1-0 advantage with Peterson. Be quite happy, I think, for the half-time whistle to go. Zorbas. Wilson stumbled over that. The two number 3s. Amicis just got the toe in. Juric leaks up into attacking territory. The big gangly legs take him around one player, not past two though. I think it was Kisnorbo in the end. Once again, the kid does well as Jeremy Baillie decides that we've all had quite enough in this first half. Between first and third on the ladder here at the Bob Jane Stadium. Certainly the match of the round. A thumping first half. A big crowd. One particularly special save from that man, Michael Petkovic, to keep Sydney Olympic down by that scoreline of 1-0. But Olympic have done everything to suggest that the second half of this one will be one to savour. So stay with us, won't you? We'll be back in just a moment to wrap all the action up at half-time.
We will be selecting.
Monday afternoon at 4 on C7 Sport.
That is an unbelievable world record. The birth of a legend.
They promise something special.
They are masters of relay racing.
And the world's best delivered.
The Australians have just broken the American stranglehold on this race.
A sporting treasure of Olympic memories.
She touches first. What a terrific performance.
Olympic swimming highlights, Day 6, Monday afternoon at 4 on C7 Sport.
With LG's Jet Cooling Air Conditioner, The heat cools in no time. LG, life's good.